Hi YouTube! Just a couple quick items before the video gets started. First of all, I wanted to warn you that for the rest of the video my voice recorded comparatively quiet, so if you're having troubles hearing, I apologize. And second of all, I wanted to also apologize for not publishing anything in such a long time. This should be a new weekly series that I put out every Monday, so I hope you enjoy! Hello YouTube, Herpterp here, coming at you with a new series that I'm going to call Random Mondays, or Randomizer Mondays, or something like that. I don't know exactly what. The basic idea we've got going here is that I'm just going to randomize my loadout, and not only do I have to justify all of the builds, be they reasonable or silly, but then I'm going to take it into some sort of high-level mission. And that's enough of an intro, let's get going. So, let's see. Loadout options, randomize. What do we got here? What do we get? Besides a cat yawning on the screen. Okay, let's see. Got my Mesa, my old Tonkor. Okay, I got a lot of time on that. And unranked Rakta Ballistica. Let's quick swap that to one that's not designed for trading. My broken Scepter, which would be from the War Within. And my Shady, which is one of my favorite sentinels of all time. Fantastic. Alright, so let's go through this. So, first of all, operator. Mesa.
Please return covered in blood.
My Mesa build uses... Yeah, thank you, Oris. Thank you for talking over me. My Mesa's build uses two of the augments, because I particularly like Mesa's waltz. I enjoy being able to move around while the Peacemaker's going on. And of course, Staggering Shield is just as good of an augment for making an ability much more broken than it was originally intended to be, as something like Nyx's Assimilate or the healing augment for Saren on her mold. I forget what that one's called. Anyways, Corrosive Projection, obviously you could be running Pistol Lamp here. It does about the same. I particularly just like Corrosive Projection. I'm running Fleet Expertise and Streamline to hit 170 efficiency, and then because Fleet Expertise is reducing my duration a lot, I've got Constitution, Continuity, and Narrow-Minded, all to increase my power duration and keep the Shatter Shield and the Shooting Gallery on for longer. Finally, Vitality, because I want to be a bit more survivable, and Vitality is more effective than Redirection given Mesa's base stats, since she's only got 75 base shields and 125 base health. I mean, that, of course, you can choose Redirection if you feel like it's more effective on your Mesa than Vitality. I just prefer Vitality. And finally, Transient Fortitude, because of the fact that Shatter Shield actually has a cap, I believe, for its damage reduction that happens at, I think, about 140-ish power strength. You could easily test that, actually, by grabbing something like Intensify, because I know what it used to do was I used to run Intensify and Power Drift before the Mesa's Waltz augment came out, right? And yeah, Intensify by itself does give 95% damage reduction on that, but if you remove all power strength mods entirely, then the damage reduction is down by quite a bit. So you do want to at least equip some power strength mod. I personally just prefer Transient Fortitude. So let me quick get that thrown back on here. And then, of course, the other builds I have here are just, well, looks like they're empty at the moment. I mean, what else do you do with Mesa, right? What else do you do with Mesa other than just have a nasty Peacemaker build? Okay, so the Tonkor. I can remember when this thing was, absolutely fantastic. I've still got more affinity on the Tonkor than on any other weapon, but I actually barely use it these days. Just because of the self-damage and the fact that the Tonkor always is a weapon that's hard to control, actually. I feel like, even though the Tonkor deals probably the most damage out of any explosive weapon, save perhaps the Lens, it's going to be one of the most dangerous explosive weapons because of the fact that the grenade's uncontrolled. I personally prefer the Secura Penta nowadays. As it is, looks like I'm running Split Chamber Serration for damage multi-shot. Of course, always good. Point Strike, Vital Sense, and Hammer Shot for crit. For some reason, I've got this weird-looking copy of Hunter Munitions on here. I'm not really sure what that's about. And then a Stormbringer and an Effective Clip on 2 dash polarities, which is a little bit odd. I remember this was one of the first weapons that I shoved full of 4, but I threw dashes on it because at the time I thought that it would be better just to have a bunch of elemental damage. Nowadays, I would prefer to have the stats. I'm not so sure about that Hunter Munitions, though, because I feel like with only 62% crit chance, the Hunter Munitions is proccing less than 20% of the time when you're shooting, and that's going to be pretty inconsistent that's going to be useful. Honestly, that should probably be swapped into some kind of base damage mod. So let me do a touch of fiddling here. Because if I take that out, then I should be able to up the corrosive by quite a bit, and then...
New alert marked on navigation,
I guess
Tenno.
we could just slap in a dual stat mod of some kind. So, how about just more corrosive damage with Malignant Force? That'll work. Okay. And I think this is... Yeah, this is essentially the same thing, but with a silencer on it, just because I've occasionally wanted to do cheesy builds where you use something like Ivara's noise arrow and then a Tonkor to kill a whole bunch of enemies simultaneously without alerting them. And I don't think that has a build C. Does it? No, it doesn't. Okay, so I'll be going with that first build. Now the Rakta Ballistica, I actually think it's a much maligned weapon, but I actually think it's a bit of a better weapon than people give it credit for. I did take it into a pistol-only sortie the other day where it was spy or something and I needed to have a silenced weapon. And it performed pretty well. What I've got going here is a build that doesn't have any form on it, because it's not one of my preferred silenced weapons, but it's certainly, I think, viable. I'm running both Gunslinger and Lethal Torrent to increase the fire rates substantially, because the charge rate at base on the Rakta Ballistica for the charge shot is pretty bad, but you're going to have much more punchy hits and much better ammo economy if you actually do fire off those charge shots. See, nowadays with regular bows only taking half a second to charge, the Rakta Ballistica's full 1 second charge is actually pretty bad. So I'm running both of those. Barrel Diffusion for additional multi-shot, Hornet Strike for additional damage, and then 3 dual stat mods, Corrosive and Heat, because the Rakta Ballistica may have a 20% crit chance, but it's only got a 1.5 times multiplier, so that's not very good in terms of critical stats. So I'm just going with the elemental damage to bump up the base damage as much as I can. I don't use this D polarity because, if you might notice, with pistol mods there are literally, as far as I'm aware, just 2 options for D polarities: Deep Freeze and Sure Shot. And Sure Shot is worthless, and Deep Freeze would be better just replaced by a Frostbite so you could have the status chance. So as far as it goes, I'm not 100% sold on ever having a deep polarity on secondary weapons aside from, say, ribbons. But this one I'm just not using it, so it's fine. If I was to polarize it, though, that'd be the first polarity I would overwrite. As for this broken scepter here, I have put a form into this, it looks like. Flailing Branch is, I believe, the only matching stance, but in any case I like Flailing Branch better than Clashing Force anyway. It's got some nice hold combos on it that do some fun things. As for the rest of this, Prime Pressure Point, Prime Fury, and of course Prime Reach, because the Scepter is a staff and staves have a pretty decent base range, so we want to amplify that. And then I've got myself something resembling a Condition Overload build going on here, it looks like. So Overload, and then some status mods, Voltaic Strike, and Drifting Contact, it looks like. I feel like if I was to put a second form into this, I would swap the Drifting Contact into another status type, probably something like Volcanic Edge, so that I would have both Corrosive and Heat that I could proc with this. And then, of course, I've got the Prime Fever Strike rounding out the corrosive damage there with Voltaic Strike, and I've got the Life Strike mod, because Melee 3.0 hasn't come out yet, and so Live is still putting Life Strike on everything. We'll see what happens to Life Strike when they change or remove channeling effects. I can't wait to see how that turns out. Anyways, but yeah, this is a pretty basic build that you could run on a lot of different status-based weapons. Obviously, this is also definitely not a crit weapon. 10% 2 times is not a crit setup, but it is hitting 50% status with this build, which is pretty good. Again, like I said, I would definitely, if you did want to build this, I would form it one more time to get the Drifting Contact converted into another status type. As for Shade, which is one of my favorite Sentinels of all time I mentioned, I'm currently running Sacrifice because Sentinel revives are fantastic for you, because Sentinels don't usually die as frequently in a mission as cats do. Yes, cats are way more survivable, but like Sentinels definitely are usually stick around long enough to get you that at least one res if you're going to be doing down in mission. And I've got Prime Region, of course, that can revive multiple times and revive me multiple times. Sanctuary, so that when I'm reviving another player, I get the shield on it. And then I've got both Guardian and Meta Ray on this, so it can restore my shields, it can restore my health. We've got Enhanced Vitality, Calculator Redirection as 2 defensive mods, so it's pumping up the survivability on the Sentinel some more. Ghost, I don't usually run on my Sentinels any sort of attacking precept. I don't feel like Sentinel weapons are strong enough to really be worth it. Obviously, if you had something like a powerful Riven mod, you could turn your Sentinel weapon into something insane, but I don't usually do that. What I do love about Shade, though, is Ghost, because every time that I play with Shade, Ghost does something where it breaks aggro off of an enemy, I get knocked down, and all of a sudden it turns me invisible and the enemy stops shooting, you know? Shade just has all this untold utility from the Ghost precept that doesn't really become obvious until after you've been playing with Shade for a while, and you start to see all different times that it's been handy, at least. And then, of course, Vacuum, because Vacuum, and I like Animal Instinct on all of my companions. The Enemy Radar and the Loot Radar just gives me a lot more of a sense of my surroundings. And I appear to have rolled a Sweeper Prime, but I'm not really going to worry about that build because it's pretty pointless. What is not pointless as my regular build on Mesa, which I forgot to talk about when I was talking about Mesa. So I feel like 7 of the 8 mods on regulators should be pretty obvious, right? You're going to always take Hornet Strike because base damage. You're going to always take Lethal Torrent Barrel Diffusion because lots of multi-shot, and the fire rate off of Lethal Torrent is fantastic because Mesa scales a lot with fire rates. Also, you're going to take Pistol Gambit and Target Cracker for critical chance and critical damage. I've got the Prime mods here, obviously. I've got plenty of Prime mods, I'll just forget that I have them. Then 2 dual stat mods. You'll notice that the regulators do have a pretty high status chance in addition to their critical chance, and since they fire so fast, you'll be proccing a ton of status effects. So into armored targets, having the corrosive status on there is fantastic, and the regulators deal enough damage against unarmored targets that I've never really worried about swapping out in between missions or anything like that. Finally, there's 1 remaining mod slot. I like to play it with Hollow Point to increase the critical damage even more. Obviously, Hollow Point's got the slight downside with minus 15% damage, but as you can see, the reduced base damage is practically unlimited. So, what a lot of people actually do with this is they prefer to play it with a mod like Anemic Agility or Gunslinger to heavily amp up the fire rate on the weapon. As you can see, 37 fire rate is just insane as far as a fire rate on any weapon in the game. Never mind that, it's an exalted weapon with an aimbot attached to it. But my personal preference is to go with just the fire rate off Lethal Torrent and let it be at that point. This is just the way I like playing my regulators. Everyone's going to have a personal preference as far as that goes. So, let's go ahead and drag this into a mission and see if I can blow myself up with the Tonkor a few times. That should be fun. Also, worth noting, before I hop into something, I always play my Mesa build with Cigarette, so let me quickly grab that. Energy Pulse and Energizing Dash being the reason why I do that, just because I want to be able to restore my energy. So, check that before we go in. Mesa is a Warframe that becomes very squishy whenever she doesn't have her Shatter Shield on, so it's very vitally important that you manage her energy pretty well. I'm just going to hop into the Slave Line. What was that, a slash damage bonus? Something like that? I didn't see perfectly. Anyways, so yeah, here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of this mission. Feel free to skip out of it or watch it.
I need you to sabotage this ship's reactor.
I'm sure it'll be amusing as
the
I
reactor is a complex system. Start by removing the coolant cells.
Weapons. While I'm doing this, it's so cold. It's so cold. While I'm doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and actually talk about the plans for this YouTube channel, since I'm going ahead and starting this new series right now, right? And the essential idea of starting this daily series is just that I want to get some more. I want to get some more videos, I want to get some more activity on the channel. I intend to come out with another Warframe science video later this week. I know it's been several months since I've done any of those. That's basically just been like, but I've got plans. I got plans for the channel. It'll be fantastic. Gonna start getting a lot more action on this. I saw that ricochet after right back to it. But yeah, the eventual goal here is for me to get Warframe Science on a couple dozen of the Warframes, and hopefully if I just get some more activity on the channel, I'll be able to get some more viewership, and that's good. then I just want to have some fun, and it sounded like a fun way for me to show off multiple things, so... Alright. You see what I mean there, right? Like, the fire rate on the Peacemaker is not that bad, even without secondary fire on. I mean, full of enemies is still going to disappear within the space of a second. It's not going to be, like, in a fraction of a second like it would be with others, but in exchange you're getting more damage per shot, so you get to put out more total damage as the circle builds out. Of course, the longer you fire Peacemaker continuously, the thinner that enemy circle gets. And because I'm running narrow-minded, so I've got the inverse strength. Here's a great example, right? Yeah. Because I'm running narrow-minded, I've got the inverse power range. I guess that's the power range. That actually is going to tend to cause aiming circle to get pretty darn small if I fire continuously for a long time. So I want to make sure that I get as much damage out before I have to essentially uncast the ability to recast it on the second time to get a better set. One thing I just realized that I should have done is, instead of another one on here, I could have gone for Firestorm to increase the blast radius. Important thing to note on explosive weapons is that blast radius is kind of similar to just increasing the base damage. Because very rarely do you hit an enemy at absolute point blank distance. Ow, that guy's just like that. Hey, go on. We're good. It's sortie what he expects for protectors. Anyways, yeah, one of the things that you can definitely expect when you equip a mod like Firestorm is that by increasing the blast radius, you're effectively increasing your damage. Because there is actually this particular challenge. I should have hit the button. What was I saying? Right. So there's actually a calculation that goes in for the damage dealt by the explosive weapon, based on the... Actually, I wasn't gonna hit me. Based on the... It's so hard to talk
Coolant cell extracted.
Based on the radius that the enemy is from the source of the explosion. God, that's so hard to say for some reason. I don't know why. My old stuttering habit's coming back, I guess. Anyways, so because the damage of the explosion actually does scale to the distance of the enemy, when you increase the radius of the explosion, you're also increasing the amount of damage that the enemies can take at a given distance from the center, right? So if the enemy is 1 meter from the center, that might be attenuating the damage by, let's say, half without Firestorm, but maybe only a quarter with Firestorm. So you're increasing the damage substantially that way.
The reactor is going into stasis. Now is your chance to complete the sabotage.
And one of the nice things about the Rakta Ballistica is the fact that it's got the
make sure it never works again.
Effects on it, which would be giving me bonus.
A coolant cell has been extracted.
Exploding barrel, but it's fantastic. Sure. Go ahead and set the fire. Why not?
Fuel cell reinserted. The reactor is restarted. This will
I
trigger
usually
a
prefer to
meltdown.
do the cold challenge there, just because it doesn't put me on a clock to get out of the mission. So if I've got secondary objectives I want at the beginning, and I can just sit around and do objectives, but I'm not in a particular mood and finish talking. I should be doing some more of the Scepter combos tonight. Okay, come on. I've got to remember, it's second hit, then both, right? So there we go.
A blast door has blocked your evacuation.
Fantastic. I love
Find a way to open it.
the ones where it's doing all the knockdowns. I think that one's actually a Oz combo, but that just happens to be because you spam it, so you get effects so fast. And that's the main reason why I love Flame Range. Does that. Ow! This is Share Shield definitely not technical explosion. Great! Woo! my weakness, without my weakness, things that go boom. And, of course, flailing around with a Scepter because I want to show off how well I can beat people up with a broken Scepter rather than worrying about not positioning things. Also, the Rakta Scepter has this drain passive. Yeah, if you didn't know, you can drain dead bodies like Necros with the Rakta Scepter. It's really slow and you'll rarely ever do it, but hey, it's the thing. Actually, one of the reasons why the Rakta Scepter is nice in that regard, because guaranteed health orbs are really nice for healing up Operator. If your Operator takes damage for whatever reason, being able to get some health orbs really fast next to it. And you see here again, right? And here's Shade coming in handy, because there's a huge room full of aggro, and I want to set up to kill this nullifier right here. And Shade's letting me be invincible for a moment and get my bearings. Obviously, I wasted it somewhat by talking, but still. We'll be out of energy. You know how that happens. See here again, the Rakta Ballistica isn't the best of weapons, but it'll get the job. It might take a couple shots, but the Ballistica Prime is just straight up better. That doesn't mean that the Rakta is unusable weapon. Ow. Not this good. One interesting thing about the Mesa element is that it makes it so that you're not status immune anymore, right? So you can be knocked down by enemies, and you also don't automatically land on your feet when you jump them into the air. But you can still... Ow, my word, I didn't see it last time. This is just hunky-dory, isn't it? Giant pile of 6 bombs. And there's sacrifice coming in, it'll still have to pretty good. I can't remember the last time I died twice in a single story. That's pretty embarrassing. That's random builds for the these rooms. What was I saying? I forget. I'm just gonna hack this out and get on my way with the mission. Shit. I genuinely don't want to do the mission. Something where I suddenly blew myself to smithereens.
Get to extraction.
Something about the Rakta Ballistica regardless. It's certainly not as good as the Ballistica Prime, but it'll get a try. Oh my words, my face. Bonus damage. Normally my Mesa would have enough hit points I'm getting 1 and 2. So that's a bit of an issue. Anyways, looks like I'm at the exit. So yeah, there we go. There's a... Oh, my word, I was well, there's a death-infused Randomizer Monday. Alright, peace out, YouTube. These are going to be going on every Monday from now on until I decide to cancel the series, or until, I don't know, I get something better to do with my life, I guess. Talk to y'all later. Peace out.